Hello and welcome to another Let's Play. Me, GamerWolfSix of Shelter. Before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, you can get it for free on itch.io. But if you want to support the people that make this game and or get the news version earlier, then you can go to Patreon, where it's $5 a month. So, on the last Let's Play, Prince Alon woke up and went to check out the book because he was like, something's not right here. And it turns out the book wasn't about flowers, it was about Noon Moon. I think the second reincarnation of Moon. And yeah, he loved the stories and went to ask questions about the world. But then, the story was kind of sidelined because that was, Burry's book because, Burry gave it to him. But then, Burry was like, I love that book. And Alon's like, rat magic. Here we go. Here's the book that you gave me all those years ago. And, that made Burry very happy to have his old book back. And yeah, we're back in time again. Oh, and he was very sad at the end because, that was the end of the adventures of Noon Moon, and he wanted to learn more about, the world and the moons. But, yeah, the wolves are just like, yeah, let's not talk about it. Well, them and the rest of the Crimson Royal Grove. Also, the old guy who's a blue healer, I think, wrote that book. Hyena. So, reset face. And continue. With that, I finally managed to fall asleep. I dreamt. A memory of my very first day in this world was brought before my mind's eyes. All of the joyful faces around me, celebrating my existence. Excited, yet soothing voices of caretakers and warriors. And words. Caretaker Rudy addressed the big, strong-looking general as Noon Moon. I wondered, where was he now? You'd think all these flowers to be overpowering for, canines. I woke up fully rested, yet restless. I had a feast with some avian ambassadors scheduled for midday, but the plan was called off, in part to let me relax after a sleepless night, but also because of some unexpectedly missing food rations. It was General Gunner who brought me that news. He was supposed to be accepting me at the feast, accompanying me. I can read. I felt annoyance in his mind, but he didn't show it. At the foremost of his mind was the worry for my well-being, like it always was. Yeah, I couldn't let go of the feeling of bother that flashed through him when he mentioned the missing food, while keeping a perfectly stoic face. Also, this seems interesting. That's the second time missing food is brought up. I'm trying to catch on to things because it's like, I played through Lush Shards all the way of Dahlia's route or Dallin's route so far, and a piece of information, complete important information, I missed it. I mean, it's kind of subtle, not subtle, The interactions and experiences of the week made me realize how much was being hidden from me. I didn't want to keep being treated like a brittle, delicate flower. I wanted to know more about the affairs of my kingdom. I wanted to be told things. And General Gunner, he was one of my most trustworthy people in the whole castle, a fellow wolf. For some reason I was thinking of that guy who's like all bound up in shelter because he's injured, but I think maybe General Gunner's actually the guy that kills or corrupts Rune's caretaker. And, father? Is that because of the vermin? Vermin? The missing food. We have rats in the city. Is that it? Where did your majesty hear that from? Furry Tango mentioned that offhandedly. Oh, that fat boy from the ceremony a week ago. Huh. He's not fat. He's a Saint Bernard. Yes, fat, like all Saint Bernards are. Is he dancing or walking? And then he proceeded to stomp on the floor in a deep growl, like a massive monster rolling through a village, and I ran away from him, giggle shouting, playing the panic crowd. Okay. We had a good minute of laughter about... we had a good minute of laughter about you. Oh, Burry. I liked it when Gunnar made fun of funny people. All in good spirit, of course. Ha ha ha. Yes, indeed. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one who ate all the missing rations from his morning snack. All 24 kilograms of cheese and meats. That chunky bat boy. Still, your Majesty does not have to be concerned about the vermin. Their last heist was a huge blunder. We have a clear scent on them now. I have dispatched my best hounds. The thieves shall cease to be an inconvenience soon enough. I'm glad. But you're lying. You're worried. The corners of Gunnar's mouth drooped at that comment, and his mental barriers raised without a thought. He shook his head and opened his mind for me again, as it was a huge offense to mask your intentions from the king's empathy. Your Majesty, I'm not lying. It's my most earnest intention and the highest priority to take care of that as soon as possible. I might have overstated my confidence in doing that as swiftly as I wish I could. So far, they have been elusive. We do have fresh scent on them, and we already destroyed multiple nests over the past weeks, yet we did not manage to catch just a single one. I'm disappointed at my incompetence in restoring the integrity of my very capital's borders. From the dirty scavengers, no less. Even more so, I know that if they remain active in the city, despite losing multiple nests, they must be dwelling close to the castle by now. They would not dare cross past the castle moat unless they were absolutely suicidal. Again, it's kind of one of those sentences where you read it and halfway through you're like, what? Then you have to finish it. It's like, Sorry for the reading odds. Yet, I'm still anxious about having to deal with them within your window's view once we inevitably corner them. It's going to be an upsetting sight, Your Majesty. That is why I'm not lying. I chose to withhold those specific details for your peace of mind, especially after hearing about Your Majesty's sleepless night. Thank you for telling me, General. Of course. Now, I beg you to rest and recover. Leave any troubles of the unimportant affairs to me. I live to ease your burden. He bowed and started walking away. General? Yes, my king? Do you remember General Doomoon? I saw you two together a long time ago. I think you used to work under him. Or at least, I know you know him. He didn't turn around to face me. That, in itself, was an offense. His mind was blank and cold. Forgive me, I have to return to my duties. And he left. I couldn't believe that kept happening. I was so frustrated. At that point, it became painfully apparent to me that something was very off in the way people treated me. They insisted on withholding information from me. I stomped the ground and lay down on the sofa to sulk. I felt so alone in my anger and disappointment while being fanned by two servants and petted on the head by the royal petter. Even my favorite truffle caviar, faute de grace afternoon snack didn't taste the same, with the bitterness eating at my soul. I knew they noticed that, but nobody spoke up. I didn't understand what was going on around me, and had no idea how to approach it. I was still a child. I was not used to these kinds of situations. I'm kind of wondering if it's kind of the thing where it's like, he's ruler, but in name only, and it's, hey, let's keep this person happy so that they just stay in their happy little spot and we can rule the kingdom, I wonder how emperors of China would do it. Like, were they part of everyday workings of it, or were they, just enjoying being alive and stuff and having concubines and parties? One thing I knew, though, was that one way or another, I would find out the truth about everything hidden from me. I was king. It was my right and duty to know. Your Majesty. Who dat? It was getting close to sundown when General Gunner came to visit me in my chambers. He had a royal retriever by his side, a member of the Gold Retriever clan. They both bowed and waited by the entrance. Once I granted them entry, only Gunner approached me. The retriever still waited by the door. The preparations for the feast are going well. We're ready to resume the celebrations tomorrow noon. Tomorrow noon? Yeah, I guess. If your Majesty feels in the mood. The emissaries will wait if need be. Did you hear me, my liege? He just stood there in the middle of the room while I stared out of the window, ignoring him. I wanted to make it clear I was crass with him. The wolf didn't respond for a while, and while the awkward silence lingered, anxiety grew in his heart. I felt him bracing himself for something. A word, an apology, perhaps? Whatever it was something comfortable to my empathy. Unable to take it any longer, I turned to him. There is something you need to meet. Someone you need to meet. My king. One of the emissaries? I'll see them tomorrow. Somehow, I don't feel like being showered with praise today. It's not that. Please, follow me. He turned around, while still looking at me expectantly. I didn't move. You have questions that I'm not at liberty to answer. But there is someone who is. Someone who holds all the answers. He left the room, passing the golden retriever still waiting at the entrance. The dog smiled at me, but there was little emotion in the soul behind that cheerful face. All those mysteries, half answers. I was sick of it. I ran past the retriever and caught up to Gunner. He didn't walk fast, and he seemed to slow down even more once I reached his side. The evening sun bathed the yard and the castle's inner walls with a soothing golden glow. I always enjoyed the moments of transition from night to dawn. The descent of day into darkness, not as much. Where are we going? The basements. I've never been there before. I was told they're cold and unpleasant. That is true. I shall let the retriever know to bring us your coat. Are you connected to him right now? So, you know Dune Moon, right? Your Majesty, I would really prefer to discuss those matters once we reach our destination. But yes, that is a familiar name indeed. Is he as amazing as Noon Moon from the stories? He skipped a breath. His lips tensed as he stared in the distance, still walking. I could feel my upper cheeks glow warm as subdued emotions flooded my mind. He restrained himself from shedding tears. No. He was nothing like anyone before him. And there's never going to be anyone like him ever again. Your Majesty, General. The Golden Retriever saluted us before offering me the silver-encrusted leather coat. I spread my arms, granting him the privilege of putting it on me. Good boy. Then he turned to Gunner, handing him a book. The book. My heart sank as I realized it was my tome of Noon Moon stories. What is this? Why do you have it? General. Good boy. You are dismissed. Gunnar tossed a small snack to him as a reward, and the General Retriever gave us a quick salute before running off. The lupine general brows furrowed as he glanced at a random page in the book. He sighed, clearly bothered. I don't understand. Did you order him to go through my room? My deepest apologies. I needed to be certain. Is this Tangeroots doing as well? Why would you? No, it's not. It smells like his. The scent is from the deeper dungeons has permeated through every page. Give it back. I don't think that's wise. For your Majesty's safety, I shall hold on to it for now. No, it doesn't belong to you. It's mine. It's precious to me. You will give it to me. Now. Is that an order? General. Yes. I order you to give it back. The wolf warrior sighed and kneeled in front of me, offering the book with his head held low in sign of submission. I hated that. I despised the thought of using my authority to force someone I liked to do something against their will, even if they infringed on my own. Carefully, I took the book off his hands. It didn't feel satisfying. I didn't want to say that. It's fine. I'm a servant to the kingdom and to you, your majesty. But I don't want to order you around. You cannot be a leader without getting used to making people do what they don't want to do. I myself had to learn that skill. And you shall grow into that as well, my king, in time. He raised his head and gave me one of those very rare smiles of his. Those slightly curved corners of his mouth that always failed to hide the true somberness behind his yellow eyes. Watch your step, your majesty. The stairs here may be slippery. The guards opened the entrance to the dungeon, and Gunnar waited for me to walk inside ahead of him. I brought the big tome to my chest. Reluctantly, I descended into the darkness of the dungeons. I wonder why we're going here. The deeper we went, the more moist and slippery the stone steps grew, indeed. I didn't enjoy the air here. It smelt wrong. At one point, I heard a muffled noise coming from the depths of some unlit side corner. Gunnar, walking behind me with a lit torch in his hand, tried to cover one of my ears with his free hand. He brought you to the dungeons when you're still so young? I cannot believe this. That was my one and only time in that place. Luckily, I didn't witness any of the sources of those noises. We didn't stop on one level long enough to properly listen either. We just kept descending those stairs. The walk was so long, it felt like we were going to reach the bottom of the world and see the cosmos below. And we just kept walking lower. General, I don't want to be here. My king, you must not be afraid. It is scary, yes, but such is the nature of truth. You may still turn us around and make us leave if you order us to. But I do not believe you would be satisfied coming back without getting your answer first, would you? Wouldn't be turning back? Let's just boop that. You're not alone. You're not one to let go of things easily, after all. Please know that I shall not let any harm come to you. I have inherited the role of the protector of the realm, and you, my king, are our realm. That will never change. You are safe with me. Interesting. Finally, the stairs ended. We stood in a big hall made of carved rock. The ceiling was painted with a series of some historical scenes from the dawn of recorded history. I couldn't keep my sight from them on them. It seemed that each time I looked up, my eyes just drifted away, probably because it depicted people who suffered corruption at the end of their lives. He led you all the way to the Obsidian Den. Sounds important. It is. Obsidian Den is at the very bottom of the castle's dungeon, the deepest part of the whole Crimson Royal Grove. It holds the greatest significance to those servants of the Grove, of special confidential positions. Official ascension to the higher scholaristic ranks takes place there too. Whoever he wanted to introduce Alon to must have been an extremely important person indeed. Here, your majesty, pray follow me close. I stopped gawking at the beautiful architecture around me and, instead, hurried behind Gunnar. I went past all the elaborate altars and sculptures until finally reaching a flat, unassuming stone wall. I took a few steps back when Gunnar took out a knife. Then I yelped in shock when he sliced his own palm, making the blood drip from it. I'd never seen blood before that. He pressed his hand against the wall and started whispering some words that eluded me the same way as those visages of those paintings from before did. The stone sucked in the blood like a sponge, and the stone itself started glowing with hundreds of lines of magic runes. To my surprise, his palm started dripping into the wall, as if diving into some kind of melting sludge. He took his hand out of the wall and offered it to me, urging me to take breath, and follow me. Mouth, let me read first before you start moving, and follow without letting go. I did that. I grabbed onto him, took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and walked right behind him. Last thing I perceived before diving into the wall was the hissing sound of his torch, as it lost flame in the sludge. Then it was just darkness and overwhelming silence. We trotted through the dark, magical stone goop, and I couldn't help but grow more panicked with each step. Every second inside the wall felt disgusting over my whole body. 10 seconds. 20. Can you breathe in there, or do you have to hold your breath? Before I could stop myself, I let my fear take the better of me, and I shouted a silent scream into the stone mass. I started drowning in the uncanny liquid. Gunnar's grip of my hand grew tighter, and he rushed us through the darkness. Didn't he even know where we were going? Wait, did he even know where we were going? Finally, my shout emerged back through the cold air, and my knees hit the floor. Gunnar immediately blew air into my mouth, forcing a cough out of my chest. What flew out of me as glowing wet magic sludge seemed to turn solid for a moment the moment it hit the floor. It took me a lot of coughing to clear my lungs up and regain my breath, as well as my composure. Forgive me, my king. I took a wrong step. I have not traversed this path in too long, and sniffing the way through isn't possible. On my very life, I promise you, I shall not let such a blunder on our return. Eventually, the only remains of wet dust dripped into my lungs, with the last strong coughs. My eyes were wet from all the abuse and dirt on my body. I want to go back. Your Majesty, please. We're almost there, I swear. My book, I lost it. Pray wait for a moment. No, don't! The moment I heard Gunnar dive back in there, I rushed right behind him. However, when my hands pressed against the wall, it was just solid rock. I banged my hands against it, shouting for Gunnar to come back. I was terrified and alone, trapped in a place nobody could find me. I was scared for my life, as much as for his. I didn't know how the magic passage worked, What if the magic would run out before he could come back, and he would just stay trapped? Did I send him to his doom just for a book? The seconds dragged into eternity. A good minute must have passed, and he still wasn't back. I looked around in growing panic. The corridor I found myself in was dark, but enough for my eyes to make out clear shapes. There was light at the end of it. I didn't want to go without Gunnar, but I didn't know how long I could wait. What if he was already dead? What if he abandoned me? I knew that, eventually, I'd need to stand back on my feet and go on my own. However, that was too much for me at the time. The time for action would come eventually, but first was time for crying like a pathetic little bitch. Gunnar! I jumped back on my feet and embraced him. I was so short, I could only hug one of his thighs. My apologies for taking so long. I kept sogging onto his leg, and he just stood there, uncomfortably. At the corner of my eye, I vaguely remember seeing him reach his hand towards my head as if to comfort me. However, he changed his mind, and, in the end, he only patted my shoulder. I found it, though. He offered the book back to me, and I took it back. Pressing it firmly against my chest, I swore to myself to never let go of it again. Good boy. My big, gray wolf nodded and wagged his tail 6 times, as was tradition, before rekindling the torch and turning towards the light at the other end of the corridor. Interesting. I feel like we might want to end it here, because, again, how long things could take depends on a bunch of stuff, So, yeah, I guess that's going to be the end of this Let's Play. So, thank you all for watching. Please comment, because I like comments. Tell me what you like, dislike, tips, tricks, otherwise. If you like my YouTube and like to grow, then please like, subscribe, and check out the videos to help it grow. And please remember to spay and renew your animals to help control the pet population, because that is something that is important to me. And if you want to play this game, it's available free on itch.io, but if you want to support the people that make this game and get the news version earlier, you can go to their Patreon, where it's $5 a month. And until next time, let's play. Me, GamerWolfSix of Shelter. So thanks and see ya.